All right, guys, how you doing? Good afternoon. We're here to talk about some Weeples, all right? We are discussing Beyond the Map's Edge, Justin Posey's National Millions Dollar Treasure Hunt, and we're covering the Weeple Winners, all right? Page 84 is where we're going to start. Nothing really crazy this video, just covering the Weeples. Made a few connections. I'm thinking we'll see how it goes. But also, you can see I'm wearing the new Froggy merch, all right? So I can say I've washed everything and tried it all on again. The black stuff, I don't know how this works. I don't know what the science of a washing machine, but the black stuff didn't really shrink as much as the white stuff. This white was a double X, and it fits. It still fits, right? But it shrunk a bit, and I didn't iron it. Maybe I should have. But yeah, the colors, nothing bled, anything. I mean, I washed it with some other white stuff, and nothing crazy happened. So if you're asking about how that works, I mean, order probably a little bit big, one size up. I think you'll be great. But this is what it looks like after wash, so it still fits good. Nothing crazy happened with the colors there. All right. Okay, Weeple Winners, getting into the good stuff, all right? So this is back-to-back stories about loopholes, which makes me really want to focus in on it, because in the Netflix documentary, which is, by the way, this is how I operate, right? I'm pulling from the Golden Greed documentary on Netflix, and I'm pulling from the book, and I'm pulling from the poem. And yes, I did buy the audiobook, so I'm pulling from that too, the new chapter. I'm not really pulling from anything else. I'm not really watching. I've heard it discussed. I've been in some discussions. I'm not watching the Amy Seeks videos. I'm not watching the old interviews with Justin about the meteorite. I'm not watching his interviews with his older ones on K-Pro and Calzar's channel. I don't really think it has much of an impact, and I think any information I get is going to just distract me. I'm not saying that there's no value in it. I'm not saying that it won't help you understand him, because that's what he does say to do. I'm just trying to stick with the information provided as best I can for now. However, caveat, a couple of years go by, maybe I'll start watching those, right, if nothing's found yet. But most of my theories, analysis, clues, hints, tips, suggestions come from just Netflix, just the book, and the poem, right? That's what I'm working with. So I didn't really see a lot in the Netflix doc that pointed to him backdooring Forrest's hunt or analyzing loopholes. We did hear about him doing the facial analyzing. We heard about him looking at the interviews. We heard about him, maybe getting frustrated conventionally with the book and the poem and trying to find another way about it. But the book, like his book, really does really does punctuate, if that's the right word, emphasize how much emphasis he puts on rules, the specificity, the exactness, and the loopholes found, right? There are some really impactful, powerful statements made in these two chapters alone, which is why on a first pass I kind of read through, okay, he's a cheeky, smart kid, all right, a little bit of a rule guy. But the second and third time, I'm looking into it saying, I feel like he's trying to tell us something. What is he trying to tell us? Is he trying to tell us, say, hey, in your day-to-day life, look at the rules, or a way to get ahead is to find loopholes? Is that just a general message from him, or is it a specific message from him to look into his rules and the legal lowdown chapter, right? Which the legal lowdown story, which has a little bit of has a little bit of inconsistency with how it's applied to the table of contents. Is that a signal? I don't know. Is it just something overlooked? Because we learn about the Weeple Winners, how the company rep, right? The company, they overlooked something, and it got stuck to them, right? I mean, I love the story. It's a great story. So really quickly, it starts on page 84. The Weeple Winners talks about. Let me set the stage here if I can. My school never did something like this, or if they did, I wasn't paying attention. But if you sell magazine subscriptions, so my school, we sold like Joe's Pizzas, and we sold cookie dough, and then we had a book fair. Those were like the fundraisers that we had. So his school, and I've heard from other people's school as well, they had something called Weeples, where they're little fuzzy felt monitos, little dolls. And if you sell a magazine subscription, you get a certain kind or a certain amount of Weeples, right? Some are regular, some double the value. And they're tied to premium magazines, I guess, with higher dollar subscriptions. On top of that, in homeroom every morning, which if you don't know what homeroom is, it's like where they read off what's for lunch, any important school announcements, upcoming events, and then it's like your teacher takes roll. It's a little 5 or 10 minute meeting before your school day officially starts with classes and everything, right? So a company rep would come by with a big bag of Tootsie Rolls, excuse me, and he would throw out Tootsie Rolls to the kids if you sold subscriptions, which I didn't see him like checking. There must have been some checks and balances, or maybe he didn't really care. But you raise your hand if you sold a subscription. You get a Tootsie Roll, and some of the Tootsie Rolls had a dollar amount, and if you got the dollar sign Tootsie Roll, you get paid out, right? So if you're following, every time you sell a magazine, you get Weeples. Sometimes you have the chance to turn those Weeples into dollars. All right, so not everyone gets to turn their Weeples into dollars, just sometimes. So Justin studies the rules. He's building on. He's learned a lesson, right? He has a foundation for rules can be bent. I really love the line. Sorry, let me lean over here. I really love the line about him realizing that in life he's not always a pawn, that he can be a knight or a bishop. I love that so much. Let me read it after I take a sip out of my Estes Quest Froggy mug. Like that? Delicious. It just tastes better when it's in a Froggy mug. All right, look at this line. Love this line. Top of page 86. My elementary school experience taught me well. See, loopholes are a revelation of sorts, a coming-of-age milestone. You realize you're not just a pawn, you're a knight, maybe even a bishop, capable of daring movement on this chessboard of life. All right, and then it goes on about his plan that he has. When I first read that, I was wondering, because I was still, when I read that, I was still thinking about ciphers. Is there like a chess cipher? I played a little bit of chess in high school. It was never really good. My crowning moment was almost losing to a third grader and then kind of just crushing them and feeling really good about myself there. So I don't even remember my score. It was really low. So just I don't know. Side note. Okay, locking in, focusing. I remember that you can annotate chess moves with letters of the alphabet A through. This is how good of a chess player I am. A through F, maybe G, something like that. And then the numbers 1 through 6, maybe. I'm terrible, but there's like E4, right? E5. Everyone talks about that. A. Anyways, you can look it up, right? If I continue talking, I'm going to stumble and say something that's incorrect. But there's a way to annotate with letters and numbers. And I was thinking maybe a Playfair because they're paired, right? It's always a letter and a number together. I didn't really get really far in that. So if you're looking for ideas, sorry, holding back a sneeze. If you're looking for ideas for ciphers to try out, maybe look at a chess analogy or a chess-based cipher. I didn't really see too many chess references in the book. This one just kind of spoke to me because of, if you realize this at a young age, like if you're in junior high and you realize that you're not just a pawn, you have power, you can move. Pawns, if you don't know, can just move one step at a time, except for certain cases, right? Knights and bishops can move, many places at a time. A bishop, can move it along any diagonal. So I think that's really impactful. And I think dropping an impactful statement like that in this chapter really makes me go back and look at this chapter. And paired with, alliteration is, you can't miss alliteration in the book, right? It's all over the chapter titles. It's all over the poem. I'm really thinking there's something here. Now what is here, right? I don't know. There's a few things that reached out. He mentions gold, right? So we talk about, the Emperor Weeple, right? If we're still thinking about realm, we're looking for anything that relates to realm, right? So Emperor Weeple, how do we make that work for a realm and a bride? I don't know, man. I don't know if we're looking for a town called Weeple somewhere. That just seems kind of far out there. But the end story, right? Which is interesting to me. An anonymous friend I'll never tell. It's interesting to me. It seems like he came up with the idea, right? Does he say he came up with the idea? Or does he say we? Let's see. I crunched the numbers. The genius says it worked. I don't know. I got the feeling that he came up with the idea, but it's interesting that he used someone else. Maybe there was heat on him. Here's what the story I came up with in my mind. There's already eyes on him from his elementary school shenanigans. So he's like, I can't pull this off twice because they're gonna definitely be all over me. So I need to enlist an accomplice, right? I don't know. I really, if I had dug into the book really good beforehand, I should have. I missed an opportunity here to ask about this, but I didn't really understand the significance of it. I wanted to read through the book quickly before I interviewed him, and so I missed that. That's my bad. I apologize to you guys. So again, anonymous friend. He's good at keeping secrets. I'll never tell. Carted this pile, and then he got paid out. There's no indication to the amount of cash, but I imagine it's a pretty good amount, right? But the last sentence here. All right, so here we go. We had won. This is page 87. We had won, not just in amassing a fuzzy army of Weeples, but in outwitting the system, and finding that sliver of a loophole and prying it open until it was large enough for a child-sized victory march. It's interesting to me, as someone who's running, I don't know if it's technically considered a contest, someone who's running an event, a event creator. He's kind of telling us how awesome and great loopholes are. It just almost feels like he's telling us to look for something. Maybe. So here's kind of my closing thoughts as I start to wrap this up. Maybe it's not look for a loophole for the hunt, but he put something in the legal section for us to key in on. All right. So with that in mind, that's kind of my takeaway for this. Right. Long story short, with that in mind, we look back to the legal section. Right. Legal Lowdown, page 214. Again, I'm saying the page numbers. I realize many of you guys have different copies of the book. You have an ebook and you have audio book. If you want me to stop saying the page numbers, I guess, say something in the comments, or if they help you, say something in the comments. All right, Legal Lowdown. So there's a couple pictures here, right? We've got the Shah right there. We've got the public address, which I went back and forth about this. So the book is filled with pictures, and most of the pictures are directly relevant to the story, with a few instances, but they add something to it. So I don't know if you don't have a physical book, if you just have an audio book or an ebook, this is what it looks like for the hardback. I don't know if if the message here is, look, this is how secure it is, this is how, the encryption works, or if their location and placement, it just seemed a little odd with because most of the time, I don't know, I'm looking through most of the books, and most of the pictures are not centered, but they're either, top or bottom, right? There's very few photos in the book where they're in the middle. I'm looking. Actually, I'm having a hard time finding one. Are you understand what I'm saying? Like, most of the time, the pictures are either top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. This one right here is one of the very few instances where it's in the middle, right? And I know there's been a lot of things about read between the lines. I don't know if this, again, and maybe I'm missing it. So if you can find a picture in the book that's not top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, just say something in the comments. But this one to me seems like one of the very few ones that's in the middle. And it's a little bit off center, right? It's not directly middle, but there's text above and below it. So I'm counting that as middle, right? So that's that out, because again, I'm looking for this for something standing out. I'm looking for visually, I'm looking for a layout. I'm looking for, we have the bold right here, the bold statement on page 215. The steward has no knowledge of the treasure's location. No one knows where the treasure is but me. And I don't really see that as a clue. I see that as, he's just, hey, drilling this into your head, right? I'm going to use bold, and I'm going to use italics and bold to let you know. What else we have? We have the layouts. We have a lot of bullet points. And again, and then, of course, we have the famous ending, right, with the Angzar, right? Which is right there. Which is, if you haven't noticed, that's a really cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if I've done a video directly on it. I probably should. But maybe that's the clue here, because I go back and forth saying, hold on, if you're telling people to look, there's clues in your legal statement section, doesn't that kind of bring down the importance, or, this is part of the game? I thought that the legal lowdown was left off of the original table of contents because it's telling us, hey, this is not part of the book. This is legal stuff to help us, to help me, to help you. But now, reading those two stories back to back, Tender Tornado, and thank you to everyone who got me to the realization that tender is legal tender, obviously, and not chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. But those back-to-back stories, right? Is it, are we supposed to find a clue there? So, I don't know. I'm going to spend the next couple of days looking through this, seeing if there's anything in the wording or layouts. Most of it seems, I mean, I've read it a couple times. I will admit, I do tend to look at this section less intensely with less detail than the other parts, because in my head, as soon as I read legal lowdown, I'm like, oh, it's just legal mumbo jumbo. And maybe that's the point, right? Maybe the point is it's in plain sight. There's something hiding here. So I wish I had something great for you guys. Maybe in the future I will for this section, but again, I don't really see it. Nothing really pops out. There was one section. No, it's not coming to me now. So that's it. Short, sweet. Hey, the store's open. I had a few people order so far. We got the cups there. They work. They hold liquid. So the t-shirts work. They cover you. Thanks to everyone for watching, though. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, man, someone will find a box soon. All right. Love that. Bye.